Okay, we are live. Time to talk about HIMS. The catastrophe that was today, minus 34% on HIMS.
Just another day in the market for HIMS, eh?
Gentlemen, how does it feel being poor?
It's a privilege to be poor.
Yeah.
Nothing new. I'm used to it.
The nice thing is, I sold some HIMS today, still up over 100%. So that's okay.
Yeah. See, Nate, we're already getting called out. All right. So we're going to call Nate Tanner from now on because he's the reason we're late today.
It's giving us that brand damage.
Is Teva still alive? You must not be paying attention. I put out 2 videos in one day. The last time I did that was years ago. Very much still alive. There's so much to talk about. Shall we dive right into the news?
Yeah, just hop right in to the deep end.
Hop right into the deep end. Okay. Let me see if I can pull it up. Novo. Here we are. Okay, let's throw this up. Here, this was the news today. This is the reason why the stock fell. Novo Nordisk terminates their collaboration with HIMS and HERS due to concerns about illegal mass compounding and deceptive marketing. Okay, this was provided by Novo themselves, so keep in mind there might be some bias or something to that effect.
No, surely not.
They are generally unbiased. I'm just kidding. It's very, very heavily worded. But the collaboration of over a month has ended based on HIMS and HERS deceptive promotions and selling of illegitimate knockoff versions of Wegovy that put patient risk at safety. They say they're doing this for their customers whom they care so much about, saying that their efforts will continue to make authentic FDA-approved Wegovy directly available through NovoCare Pharmacy to select telehealth organizations that share our commitment to safe and effective medical treatments for patients living with chronic diseases. The partnership that was going on for just over a month is now over. In April, the FDA resolved the Wegovy shortage, and based on that, HIMS essentially cannot make these compounded knockoff versions, essentially. When over a month into the collaboration, the company HIMS and HERS has failed to adhere to the law which prohibits the mass sales of compounded drugs under the false guise of personalization, and are disseminating deceptive marketing that put patient safety at risk. They continue, and I think this is a couple of interesting statements here. First of all, their EVP of operations said, "We will continue with telehealth companies to provide direct access to Wegovy, and when companies engage in illegal sham compounding that jeopardizes the health of Americans, we will continue to take action." This guy was also, I think it was this guy who was also on CNBC today. So that might be where they're pulling this quote, but he was basically saying something very similar. In this bottom paragraph, I think is the real meat of this conversation. So it says Novo is deeply concerned and is continuing to take proactive measures to keep U.S. patients safe from knockoff drugs with foreign illicit active pharmaceutical ingredients. That's a pretty strong statement. Based on their investigation, the semaglutide, in quotation marks, which I found really funny, active pharmaceutical ingredients that are in knockoff drugs sold by telehealth entities and compounding pharmacies are manufactured by foreign suppliers in China. According to a report from the Brookings Institute, the FDA has never authorized or approved the manufacturing processes used by any of these foreign suppliers to make semaglutide, nor has the FDA ever reviewed or authorized the quality of the semaglutide, again in quotation marks, that they produce. The report also found a large share of these Chinese suppliers were never inspected by the FDA, and many of whom that were inspected had drug quality assurance violations. Okay, let's pause right there. There's a lot of news that came after that news, but that's the initial news. What do we think?
Just
standard, normal corporate talk. No emotions there at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Novo definitely cares about the patient, not about maximizing profits or HIMS eating their market share at all. It's definitely all about the patient's well-being.
Yeah, and we have no bias at all, guys. We're totally impartial third parties here. Nate, yeah, go ahead, Roy.
So for real, like before we get into the details of that, like the tone of it, that's unreal for a presser. Like unreal. You occasionally you'll get that, but it's so rare. So it's like it actually kind of shocked me. I figured it was just when I open it up, it'd just be normal standard corporate jargon, but like engage in illegal sham, semaglutide in quotes, all the knockoff stuff, the false guys at personalization. It's like, dude, this is dirty.
Yeah, and like they had illegal in the title of the press release. I'm like, okay, well, those are fighting words, sir. You better be able to back those up because lawsuits are coming. That's slander. Just saying.
I honestly could see a lawsuit going both directions.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we're going to talk about. Nate, go ahead. Just initial thoughts, and then we're going to dive a little deeper.
I mean, this morning I woke up and just saw it down 25%, and I was like, oh, I wonder what the news is. And then I did not expect it to be this.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember a little bit. We talked about, they had a new CEO coming in, and there was, a chance that the partnership would end.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall, though, definitely not bullish. And I was a little sick of seeing all of the mega HIMS bulls really try and twist this in any possible way to be bullish for HIMS. And that was a little frustrating and kind of reminded me of certain cults I see. So that wasn't very nice to see. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's still, again, it's not the end of the day, but it's also not extremely bullish. Like the company is going to do fine regardless of this. It's just a rocky road to get there is what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. And so of course, I mean, everybody here that's watching knows HIMS was down 34%. If you don't know that by now, then I hate to be the one breaking the news to you. But then this came out halfway through the day, and there's a lot of comments that I want to get to, but I want to just cover just the source material first. Okay. HIMS CEO Andrew Dudham. See if you can spot any emotion in this, Roy. We're disappointed to see Novo Nordisk's management misleading the public. In recent weeks, Novo's commercial team increasingly pressured us to control clinical standards and steer patients to Wegovy, regardless of whether it was clinically best for the patients. We refuse to be strong-armed by any pharmaceutical company's anti-competitive demands that infringe on the independent decision-making of providers and limit patient choice. We take our role of protecting the ability of providers and patients to control individual treatment decisions extremely seriously and will not compromise the integrity of our platform to appease a third party or preserve a collaboration. The health and wellness of individuals always comes first. We will continue to offer access to a range of treatments, including Wegovy, to ensure providers can serve the individual needs of patients.
I really, really like that third paragraph.
Yeah, well, that third paragraph is like is a very the third paragraph. This one.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I took notice to this last one because he's like, yeah, we're not going to stop, and after reading the Novo letter and then reading this response, and they're both so emotionally charged. This is like the Elon baby mama drama of the GLP-1 world. I swear. It's just a shit show.
The term there, anti-competitive, though, like that was for me the key word. That was very interesting because that's an argument that the CEO has made in the past against big pharma and for compounding and for 503A exceptions and 503B, frankly, at the time when it was still in the shortage list. And I don't know, like the arguments have been overstated, I think, on both sides, but Novo has like more, it seems like it was written by our current president, to be honest. Which is not a compliment. So
yeah. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Okay, so wow, there's so many great comments here, and I feel like I'm going to scroll up and eventually get to them. But so initially, just I summarized a lot of my initial thoughts in a tweet, and so basically, there's a couple of main things. First of all, is you can kiss any partnerships goodbye. I think this pretty much ties a bow on a future Novo partnership being off the table, or a future Eli Lilly partnership being off the table. Basically, there's no big pharma company that is going to want to touch HIMS with a 100-foot pole at this point in time, with these allegations wafting in the air. First of all. Secondly, I think HIMS needs to tackle head on and address some of the allegations, the China ones specifically, shed some more light there. I think there needs to be some third parties or government bodies, like some other parties need to investigate these claims because they're too impactful in either direction to not be further investigated. So like using words like illegal, deceptive practices, all of that, like that's grounds for a lawsuit on either direction, right? Because like Novo could have found this out and they could have just straight up sued HIMS in addition to breaking that partnership. But I don't think that that's necessarily in anybody's best interest. I do think that a lawsuit is likely. Either Novo is going to sue HIMS on the evidence that they already have, if they think it's strong enough to say, hey, basically stop compounding and stop competing, or HIMS is going to sue Novo based on the reputational brand damage that they're causing, probably using that anti-competitive language. I do think that is the biggest overhang at the moment for HIMS, and quite frankly for Novo, who's at multi-year lows, is that mutual lawsuit risk. I think short sellers are going to feast on this. I think short interest is going to rise. Yeah. But more importantly, and quite possibly the most importantly of like the summary bullet points I made, was we must find out once and for all whether this personalization workaround is in fact allowed or not, because right now it's like a nuanced gray area. It's open to interpretation, but we need a black and white conclusion from government bodies, from the FDA essentially, on whether it is illegal or whether it's fully legal, because that is what this whole argument hinges on, is big pharma saying, well, actually, it's case by case. You can't mass produce it due to the FDA shortage decisions. And then HIMS is saying, well, the personalization warrants it, so we're going to mass produce it because it like clinically meets the needs of the end consumer better than the generics.
I totally agree. I think there's a lot to unpack there. I feel like people are all pretty upset that Andrew didn't respond quicker, and I feel like it's because that was like version 34 of his post that the lawyers had to come over and make sure that every word was tightly bundled. And so if there is a future lawsuit, they don't have anything to work back against them. Because I like you said, I do think it's just a matter of time. Like I think you said, Tevis, like you put it at less than 2 weeks, there's gonna be a lawsuit, and I agree. I think whether it's from HIMS or Novo, like something's coming. And so that's why personally I wasn't buying today, because there could be more downside. But yeah, I think lawsuit risk is definitely at play now, and it definitely is worrying and kind of sucks. But it doesn't, to me, in my opinion, I think long-term fundamentally the company will be fine. They'll grow pretty well and be a successful company, but this definitely adds a massive, massive bump in the road to get there. So
yeah, and there already was a bit of one anyway for quarter two. It's going to be the first quarter that they report sequential decline in revenue, not year over year, but that's just because of the 503B exception for compounding. The semaglutide has gone away as far as a full quarter. So it is just a bump, but there's really three bumps. There's that, which the market knows, but I mean, the market can tend to be stupid anyway. Like, oh, we already knew this. Too bad. Minus 5%, and then you have the potential lawsuit, which this is a narrative-driven stock. And so, it certainly can go lower, can go the other direction too. I think shorts will probably double down. And the other is on that guidance, I believe it was $725 million that they guided for health, not health, weight loss products over the course of the year, which was a substantial part of their revenue guidance. It was very aggressive in quarter one. I was actually surprised to see that. And I'm like, okay, this makes me excited, but also a little bit leery. Excited because they've never missed a revenue guide ever. They just don't. But also a little bit concerned just because I'm like, okay, where is all this coming from? Because liraglutide doesn't seem to be the solution. Is it, their own oral weight loss product that they see really scaling, or are they really going for that 503A exception and using it for, that they're still able to compound for medical necessity, which is still a thing. It's not illegal. It's not sham like Novo Nordisk says, but it is supposed to be the exception, not the rule. And if they are doing what others have said that they're doing, where they're just saying, well, everybody, personalization is medically necessary. That's probably a stretch too far, and I could see them coming on the wrong side of this lawsuit. So that's a risk there, and they may need to also slow down what they're doing with the 503A as well. So there's like 3 or 4 bumps potentially. It's one of the reasons why when the news came out, I'd already taken some gains on HIMS on the way up, and I ended up taking a little bit more off the table too, where I was like, okay, it's $50. I feel like it can fall further. Does seem like there's a lawsuit. Let me take some off the table, and I did write some of those as cash secured puts at 40. So.
And I
feel that's okay.
I do think it's, kind of funny. We saw the same exact rhetoric with Eli Lilly about 2 weeks ago, where HIMS said, like, or Eli said they're not going to partner with people that personalize semaglutide, and HIMS was sort of like, yeah, we don't want to be controlled by a pharmacy. And so I was kind of interesting at the time, that the fact they were partnered with Novo then. And I'm seeing like speculation that it could be true that Novo kind of just was a Trojan horse, came in so they could get more information on what HIMS actually does, and then just into the partnership. I think it's more tied to the CEO, but it was an interesting theory that they kind of partnered just to get more information so they could sue them even harder, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not like, I saw that argument too. Well, Novo should have known ahead of time, because why get in bed with HIMS if they know that they're shady and that they're not going to stop the practices? To which I responded saying, well, one angle that you could take is that they thought that they could strong arm HIMS, or they thought that HIMS was desperate enough for that partnership that they would sort of, roll over on their principles. And then the other angle you could take with this is that, like, well, they didn't know, and this in fact is brand damage to them, because obviously it's a show of poor judgment on their part if HIMS is as bad as they claim they are. And ultimately, I mean, like, I didn't see Novo stock being green today. Did you? Like, Novo is at 2023 lows, basically. Like, they don't want the lawsuit. They don't, and besides, they have way more to lose as a large company, right? Like, what if they gain from a lawsuit with HIMS? Like, they have a lawsuit, and anything that they could expect to win, like, they've already lost it in the market cap for the stock reaction immediately after they announced that lawsuit, right? Because it's mutually assured. And then if HIMS gets a good decision,
right,
HIMS could take them for a huge amount of money, right?
Yeah, if HIMS actually wins that lawsuit, then it's
right.
Yeah.
And so it's like they have more to lose than to gain from potentially doing a lawsuit, because HIMS is so small. And right now, I think the context is important. Like, I was watching this clip on CNBC where what also happened this weekend was Novo basically was showcasing their new products. Did you guys hear about this? They had 2 new products, weight loss products, essentially, and they had way more side effects and they had way less efficacy. So their new products are not as effective as Wegovy is not as effective as their current lineup is. And so you have this company that, in my opinion, and again, this is biased because I own HIMS and I don't own Novo, but in my opinion, what I see is I see this company that's at 2-year lows. I see them trying new product lines that are not necessarily working out. And I see them being disrupted by smaller players who are essentially compounding all around them. And their flagship product offering is at risk, right? And so they're going to be lashing out in every direction that they possibly can to try to stop that bleeding and keep some of their, monopoly. And so when Andrew says it's anti-competitive, like, I'm not really calling bullshit on that, because, just looking outside in, it kind of seems that a lot of these things are happening around the same time. Like, I don't know if it was a coincidence that this happened the same weekend that like they had to showcase the results. The same weekend, mind you, that Lilly showcased results, and they were having very promising results for their new product offerings. And so I can imagine that Novo has a huge pressure on that side too, from Lilly as a big pharma competitor.
Yeah, what I think is happening right now is the market's just pricing in those litigation risks again. And maybe I'll disagree that, the stock hasn't priced in the possibility of lawsuits yet, but I think so. What's unfortunate, in my opinion, and I believe we discussed this in a previous HIMS Weekly, is I was very happy with the Novo Nordisk partnership because it paved the way in the future with HIMS partnering with Big Pharma instead of battling against them. So now it seems like we're right back to where we started. HIMS versus Big Pharma all over again. Not going to be surprised if we see a lawsuit. Like you said, it could be as soon as 2 weeks, like you did the over-under on, Tevis. I'm not sure. But like Nate said earlier, there's no way to spin this, in my opinion, that's bullish for HIMS. Now, it is just short-term headwinds, in my opinion. Lawsuits are no fun. It's going to be a drag on the stock. Long-term thesis is still intact. But I'm curious on how these, or if these lawsuits come, how that goes.
Yeah, I don't think it's fully priced in, but I could be wrong. And there's a possibility too that they don't end up suing. I think that's unlikely at this point, just because of the breakup, and it was a messy breakup. It's it's not just like if it's very clinical.
Yeah,
Or be
publicly
like, okay,
battle. Yeah, not a great breakup at all.
yeah, and just like the way that they were stooping, especially Novo Nordisk, like they should honestly be above that. I'm really wondering if so the CEO is still there. He's fired, but he's still there for continuity. I think he's just a figurehead at this point. I think the board definitely didn't like the partnership, didn't like the compounding. It's really weird to me that they wouldn't have done more due diligence on the front end, because this is like a quick breakup.
Yeah,
they kept Roe, they kept LifeMed, and
Noom.
several others as well. And they are not compounding. So their issue is with compounding. They've always taken aim at it. And one of the things that I thought was hilarious too was the allegation as far as the risk from China. They're throwing out all the stops. And the silliest thing is, so this is API and bulk ingredients. You can see this is like everybody, not just Novo Nordisk, not HIMS, which does have some facilities that do compound. But you can see 82% comes from India or China. China is really ramping up. Very little in the EU, USA, and other. And so there was a interview from, I think, a year ago from a former HIMS executive that said, hey, we actually get the same, we source the ingredients from the same place as Novo Nordisk. Now, Novo Nordisk said, no, we source it here in the EU. That's probably way too small. This is an SEC filing, the 20F, that somebody that is bearish on the company had shared. And they go through and talk about all United States and in Europe. But the reality is, I mean, you can see China right there. And there's 7 facilities they're building or in the process of building. They do mention diabetes. These are, as far as I can tell, are and will be larger than what's there in Denmark. And so it's very likely the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah.
So this was like silly and ridiculous. Just them saying, "Oh, dangerous from China," and everything. It's like, come on, 80% of the people are getting their APIs and bulk ingredients from India and China. Now, I prefer it wouldn't be quite that much, but that's a topic for a different time. And the other thing that I thought was hilarious was that they, insinuated, correctly so, by the way, that the FDA didn't, approve the compounding. I can't remember the exact wording on that, but the shortage list itself allows for it. The FDA allows for it, but they don't actually, give their stamp of approval saying this is FDA certified. Certified is the word I'm looking for. Like they never do in any compounding type environment, whether it's 503A or 503B shortage list type exceptions. So they're basically insinuating something that it's like, well, yeah, it's technically true, but it's also, I don't know. It's like saying that all these AI products that are out there that are not Microsoft or not Microsoft certified. It's like, yeah, they're not Microsoft. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the arguments are going to be holding. Like again, if the FDA came out and said, okay, what HIMS is doing is absolutely not allowed, then they just stop doing it, right? But like, I don't think that is going to have. Like, we need a definitive answer around whether they can personalize in bulk en masse or whether they can't. Regardless of the Novo arguments that they had in the press release, I think that the reputational risk is already done. Like the market bought it. The fact that it's down 34% means the market bought it.
Yeah.
Right. And like I think to Elijah's earlier point, right? Like the reason why I like the partnership with Novo is because it sort of closed off a potential risk factor, a bear case for HIMS that has now resurfaced. And the reason why is because we all four acknowledge that there might be some litigation risk, but none of us can determine if there in fact will be, or if it's just like a high possibility. And then none of us can determine when that will happen, right?
Yeah.
And so it's always going to be a black cloud that hangs over him, similar to the way the shortage ending was a black cloud that hangs over him. So you don't know if it's going to be this week, next month, next quarter type of thing, but you know at some point the other shoe is going to drop. And so when the shortage ended and when Novo had that partnership, I was like, wow, the bear cases are gone for this company because you don't have any like. You're not waiting in anticipation of any other like major bad news happening. But now with this, I mean, I remember that Manuel sold HIMS because he was worried that Novo was going to sue them. Yep. And 1 week later, because Novo released that letter to compounders basically, and 1 week later, Novo partnered with them. And so like, I've been thinking about, Manuel's reasoning of why he sold HIMS. And I'm like, well, we're right back at that situation, right? We're right before the partnership happened. And we still have the exact same like dark cloud hanging over us as HIMS investors as to, okay, well, now at $41, $42, do I buy HIMS? Or like next week I could have a partnership. It could be at $60 with somebody else. Next week I could have a lawsuit. It could be at $20. And you don't know, right? And so I think that uncertainty is one negative factor that we have today that we didn't have this morning.
Yeah, the thing is too, I think last time before this partnership happened, him was at $28. So we're 50% higher from then. And the only thing that's changed at this point now is just another quarterly earnings. Because I feel like a lot of the ride up was because of that partnership. And
I think the international expansion was part of it too.
True. Yeah, that's true. That was a little bit of it. Yeah.
And very aggressive guidance, which, it's pretty exciting. I think the thing to keep in mind too, if somebody's kind of newer to HIMS and they're like, oh man, from the sound of this, if this is your first time like hearing about the company, be like, it's all weight loss drugs. No. Now that is a good chunk of the revenue growth over the last year or so, just because they were able to do that at scale, very high margin, not quite as high margin as their normal products. So you will see sequential decline in quarter two. They've already guided for that. The question is basically does the rest of the year look like? This is why, like when we enter this next earnings season, I don't think HIMS earnings is going to be the best. I think it'll be solid or good. But out of all the companies I follow, it's the one that I'm most interested in, just because that's going to be the tell as far as their guidance and their actual revenue and how those additional weight loss products, including the oral, is coming. What they're doing with 503A and everything, like there's a lot of meat in this earnings versus last time it was like great earnings, but it's like, yeah, we already knew all that stuff. So no big deal. But long term, like the thesis is still very much intact for me. I did take some off the table just because this is all in a tax advantage account for me. And I figured, hey, if it's going to go down, I can take advantage of it, sell, lock in some profits, sell cash secured puts. If those get triggered, then great. I don't mind owning HIMS at a cheaper level. If it keeps falling, I'll keep adding up to the point where I was before the previous run up. This is a very volatile stock. And by the way, option seller's dream, just absolutely
You do you hear this, Elijah? This is wisdom acquired through years of experience. I also sold some last week, and the 19-year-old among us, made fun of me. You hear, Roy? Learn.
Yeah, I'm just here as a special guest, so take me as a grain of salt. But it's okay to lock in gains, guys, after a phenomenal run. Even if you're bullish and you want to hold long term, you don't have to sell all your position. You can sell part of it. I still have HIMS in my portfolio. I'm happy to have what I have because it's more than 100%. So every share that I have now is essentially a free share.
Elijah, don't listen to them. It's because they're about to be in the retirement home. So they need to sell.
Yeah, next year.
They need to sell to get their money out. We have 30 years.
HIMS is already like a ginormous position for me, but I wrote a singular cash secured put, which Tevis made fun of me for because I have a small account and that's all I can do. But listen, man, people can relate. Not everybody has Tevis money, so it's okay. But yeah, so I will hopefully get assigned on those shares because I want to increase my position.
What did you write?
Wouldn't you like to know, Tevis? Wouldn't you like to know?
Have you guys seen the $40 for September? $40 for September.
Well, actually, I hopped on TJ's stream earlier this morning.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, hey, check out HIMS. And he did. And this man just casually wrote 100 contracts on stream. He wrote August 15th. He sold covered. Well, they're not covered because he doesn't have his position. He sold calls at 70 and he sold puts at 33, I think it was. Collected like 21 grand in premium. And basically, if it stays between that range for the next couple of months, like he's golden. And see, that's the level that I'm not at, Elijah. That's who I'm looking up to.
Just a couple clicks, quick 25 grand, and then just call it a day.
Yeah. For him, it's pocket change, and for Tevis, it's almost pocket change, but not quite. So
it's pocket change.
I mean,
you wouldn't even pick it up.
If you guys look at $40 puts for September 19th is a 20% return in like 2.5 months. It's nuts, but
yeah. I mean, I didn't write any cash secured puts today. I was thinking about it, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't really buy a lot of. I don't know. I'm skeptical on this geopolitics being like, war is declared, market is green. War is over, market is green. Like, regardless of what happens, market is green. I just think that we're like in euphoric territory, and I know the fear greed index is like neutral. I don't know. It feels very, very bullish right now.
Yeah, overall the whole market feels to be running. Like ASTS is up every day. Circle is up, is like a $70 billion company. Like, what are we doing? What is it, 2021?
For real, guys, if you're investing in Circle, if you're bullish on stablecoin, that's fine. I am not investing in that one, but I'm bullish on stablecoin. I've been talking about your stablecoin since like last August. And all that's come true, and even more so than I expected. But Coinbase gets like 70% of their revenue. Just invest in Coinbase if you like Circle. Not financial advice, but like look into it seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very bullish. Like that's the thing too is HIMS is a small float company. It can change on a dime. I mean, we see the after hours; it's moved up like 4%. That's like nothing for HIMS. So I wouldn't expect it to get back to like the mid 60s, in the next week or two, but it could. It's HIMS. Could also go down to like $30. It's HIMS. It's volatile. Which would shock you guys more? If it goes down to, let's say, $30 a share or 60, anything in the 60s.
I think anything in the 60s would shock me.
What time frame?
Just what is going to happen next? 60s for HIMS or 30s for HIMS? Or 30 and below for HIMS? So
see, like
30 and below.
Normally I'd say 30s, like between 30 and 40. I don't think it's going to go below 30. I would say between 30 and 40 normally, but with this market, I would probably, like, if I had to bet, I would say it's more likely to go to 60 than 30s because the market's just going to drag it up.
Yep,
which is crazy.
I think so too. I think we have lower to go. It's just a guess. I'm terrible at like timing the bottom, so I usually don't try. But I would guess, we probably are somewhere in the 30s, and then it inverts and goes up with the market. And it could just, who knows? Like in 3 days, we could be looking at an all-time high for HIMS, which is stupid. It shouldn't happen, but I mean, it's a bull market in a small float stock, high short interest. So the other question I have for you guys is, how high do you think short interest goes off of this?
36%, 37%.
Yeah.
I'll even go as high as 40. That sounds insane, but yeah.
40 would be insane.
40 would be
40 is crazy, yeah.
Now, none of
unfathomable.
this are in this stock. We have some first-time viewers on this for a short squeeze, but it's happened before with HIMS. It can happen again. Shorting is not like good for stock or price action, but it adds to a lot of the fun if you like volatility. If you don't, this is not the stock for you. It's a battleground stock. I rarely have seen a stock and a company like this divided with, like you were saying, Nate. There's some bulls out on HIMS that I just think are like far out there. They're just like have bought that this is going to be the best and biggest company in the world. Not quite, but they're almost at that point. And then there's bears that are like every single piece of good news that comes out for HIMS is always bad and negative or a lie. And it's like, what in the world? And it's very evenly divided between passionate bulls and passionate bears that are extreme. So
I remember, seeing the passionate bulls say like, "Oh, well, Novo ended this partnership because they saw him just eating their lunch or whatever." It's like, guys, what are we talking about? Their revenue is like what Novo Nordisk makes in a month. Like, what are we talking about? There's no eating any lunch. The partnership is mutually beneficial and probably more beneficial for HIMS, if anything. So, it was a little delusional, the takes I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get that, though. Like, that level of delusion is directly proportionate with how much of a cult stock your stock is in. Like, that's how you know. Like, you have increasingly delusional takes. You're going to have it for, like, HIMS is not overvalued. I'm trying to find this post. There was somebody who posted, like, the GAN lines in a technical analysis, and they were, like, perfect. Like, maybe it was Cantonese Cat or Great Matsby. I'll find it. But it was just insane because, like, how well it fit.
I love the accounts that said they called this. Those are my favorite accounts. I called this stock going to the 40s. I told you guys, it's like, okay, you're a genius. Yep, you knew this was not going to happen. Fall 35% a day.
That's one of the beautiful things about HIMS is like you can call like some really high price target or really low, and you're probably going to be right. In fact, you could do the both. You could be like, I'm calling HIMS at 30 and HIMS at 75 this year, and you're probably right.
I mean, that's what a strangle is.
Do you guys think a 35% drawdown in the stock is warranted for this news?
Yes, I think 50% is warranted.
Well,
I think we'll see another 15. I think we'll see another 15% over time. Like over the next couple weeks.
Maybe.
I wouldn't quite say 50% there, Nate. I like fair value for myself is still $50. So, but in a volatile stock, like I'm not too flustered when it goes higher than that or lower than that. I don't make decisions based on that. But yeah, my initial reaction was because I didn't see the presser. It was, I don't know, it wasn't out there. I'm like, okay, this might just be a shift in CEO strategy. If so, this is like really nothing because you guys hit the nail on the head. I think Nate or Elijah, one of you guys, maybe both of you guys said it, that the exciting thing about the partnership was not the revenue. It just wasn't. It's going to be low revenue, low margins, but it was taking lawsuit risk, which was the biggest credible bear case off the table. Yep. And now that it's back here, like it's a credible bear case and bear argument. There's short-term bearish stuff for HIMS, but long-term, there's a lot of good stuff too. So I'm at this place where I'm like, okay, I'm not selling my remaining HIMS shares. I'm looking to add more as we go down, and I think that we probably will. And if we don't, that's okay.
And like the thing to keep in mind is like, oh, well, it's 35% warranted for this drop. Well, it's like, well, you increased 25% or more as a result of this partnership news in the first place. So
way more because of it.
It's pretty proportionate, I would say.
Yeah. I'm sort of the same boat as Roy, where I didn't sell, didn't buy, kind of just waiting for the dust to settle. I think it's like the magic rule of like wait 3 days or something like that after something drops a bunch. So I'm just waiting for the dust to settle to see what shakes out because I feel like by this Friday we could have something new.
So this is where I'm like I'm in the same boat, and that's why I didn't write cash secured puts today. But at the same time, now like that the market closed, I'm thinking like, oh man, a lot of that IV was going to be way higher today. Then it's going to be over the next couple of days. So I'm like, I should have probably just put in its little teaser position today and then seen where we gone from here.
Yeah, actually, I used that IV today to roll a little bit of my cash secure puts out just another month. They were for August, but I rolled them to September. Just
What's
to
the
the IV. I think it's I'll double check. I think 55, 50.
Yeah, the 3-day rule, if anyone's wondering, it's not a hard rule. It's a rule used by institutions, larger traders and investors usually, that after a massive drop, they wait 3 total days, including the day of the drop. And if the price action looks like it's stabilizing, it may be worth an entry. Now, there are times when I listen to it, and this is kind of one of those times. I did sell cash secured puts, so full disclosure. But a lot of times, or sometimes, you're following a stock closely enough, and you realize, okay, some headline news came out, and it's just a nothing burger, or it's some macro thing, and you're like, this is not a big deal. Don't wait the 3 days if you don't think that it's a credible dip. Buy, according to your conviction.
Yeah, I mean, HIMS fell to prices never before seen since 13 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. That's my favorite part too is the stock is still up 85% year to date, and it outperforming most stocks in the entire S&P or in the entire stock market. So,
yeah, I mean, but there's people like that just got in as a result of this run, and like that's I think the more concerning thing about this being 2021 patterns or echoes of 2021 is people will chase. Like I know a bunch of people. I think Garcia was one of them that got into HIMS and maybe the 30s, 40s. I know Amit, for example, got into the mid 50s. And so like people are going to chase on the way up. And normally that's fine because the companies are executing and you get to average down. And like that's a gift for a lot of people who are building a long-term position. But there's a lot of people that are also just starting out in the market for the first time as a result of the market climbing up, and they will chase and they will get freaked out the moment that this thing falls 35% in a day.
So I do need to correct one thing because I love calling out my friends. There's nothing better, but I told him he bought in at HIMS at 25, and he's like, hey, what do you think fair value is? And I was like, $50. So I go, okay, great. Hits $40 and he sells. I'm like, bro. So then he gets back in the 50s. Fairness to him, like he was very new in HIMS, and when you haven't taken time to really dig in deeply and know what your conviction level is, it can make sense to. But I love calling him out on that. So
yeah, my favorite part. I was the one that told him to get HIMS, and he bought it. And I don't know if you guys know, but Roy might know is that the next day is when the Novo partnership was announced, and so he was up 45% on his shares, and he was like, "Wait a second, why am I holding this? Like I just made 45% in a day," and so he sold or whatever it was, and then bought back later. But yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's like me with Palantir. It's like I made a 2x on Palantir. I was like, thank you, I'm out. And then it's been
yeah, you sold Palantir for SoFi.
It's been a 10x. Like, fuck.
Should we talk about the gummy?
Yeah, let's just spend a few minutes quickly talking about the gummies. I know, Roy, you have to go at 9:30, right?
Yes.
All right, Elijah, kick us off.
Well, you had a new product launch on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday for the HERS brand. That was pretty hyped up in my opinion. There's a lot of speculation. You had them, I think, release 2 videos. But basically what it was is what's the drug in it? But it's a gummy that helps with the hair growth, hair regrowth.
And biotin.
There you go. Yep. And it has those 2 in there. In my opinion, I think I don't want to say it was underwhelming, but I mean, kind of, if I'm being honest. I was expecting a little bit more, but just because there was so much speculation on X and talk of the town. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I kind of lend towards like it's great, another product, but it's nothing revolutionary. It's nothing it's innovative enough in terms of the marketing's great, the packaging's great, and that's big HIMS key differentiator is their marketing. But I don't think it's anything out of this world where it's like people are hyping it up, and I saw like people putting $40-50 billion TAM for the gummy market and all this stuff, and it's just as HIMS community does, it tends to be a little overhyped in my opinion. I think it's great though. I'd love to see them continuing to push envelopes, continuing to add more products, continuing to innovate in the ways they can, and so I'm always happy to see management continue to try and push the envelope a little bit.
So here's a 10-second thing. They killed it with the marketing though.
Oh, for sure.
Music off. Yeah.
Gotta make his money.
All of us demonetize. I need this $2, Roy.
Buy the HIMS dip, right? Yeah, no, I mean, like the marketing is really good. HIMS is excellent at that, marketing themselves, marketing their products. That's going to continue. Like, again, long term, the thesis is intact. This product, it's all right. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how effective it is. I don't know what people are willing to pay for it. I think the testosterone is probably the more exciting product that they'll launch this year. But the more products that they launch, the bigger that flywheel. Especially, it gives them advantages as far as data, and also with that level of personalization they're looking at. And also, if you look at their overseas expansion into Europe, it's another product to sell over there too. So each and every one of these, they may be like just incremental, like a small little thing that's not a big deal, but it adds to that bigger pie. It expands their TAM. So I'm not like, yeah, HIMS to the moon, but I'm like, cool, another thing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I like that is because it's preventative, and that's the direction that they want to move in as a company. And so we're going to see more of releases of that nature, where essentially this is a form factor that I think for that target audience is going to be well adopted, because it makes it feel less as like a prescribed medicine almost, and more like a wellness routine. And the fact that it's preventative, I think, is laying the blueprint or the roadmap. I mean, they said they've worked on this for the last several years, perfecting it. And I don't necessarily think they've worked on just this for years. I think like they've worked on the process that they've got
100%.
with for years. And now that they have it, they can crank out more preventative care prescriptions or combinations in these same unique form factors.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you. I think that's because when I initially read that, it was like, we've been working on this for 2 or 3 years, and I was just like, prescription gummies. But the more I thought about it, the more it is the operations behind that prescription gummy, the form factor, being able to add more drugs, and just continuing to personalize and kind of spin out their product. I think that'll be huge. But I'm like where I said, I'm much more excited to see how they spin out testosterone and how they market that. I think that will be, I'm pumped for that, which could be happening in the next 5 months. So
yeah. So where do we think HIMS closes off the week? Fun game. The Price is Right. Who's closest? Elijah, we'll start with you.
Exact dollar amount?
Sure, dude.
I'll go 40.
40. Okay.
I was going to say 49.73.
Okay.
41.
That's so specific.
41, Roy?
Yeah.
I'll go 46.
Okay, I'm in a good spot. So if we pump this week, I win.
Did you say 49, Nate?
Yeah, 49.73. A little below 50 to it's not, they're not going to let them close those 50 cc's, but
basically 50.
Yeah, but it's not 50 exactly.
All right, we have some guesses in the chat. 53, 35, 36, 69. All right, guys. There is no consensus, and that is that's emblematic of this particular name.
35 to 49
I hope
bucks.
it goes lower. I mean, I do.
Yeah, if this thing does go below 40, I will probably be a buyer again, even though I am overweight HIMS. I feel like
If it goes below 40, you said?
probably. Yeah, probably.
That's interesting.
Yeah, for me, I'm already overweight HIMS, so I'm not looking to buy yet. But if it continues to push another 15, 20% lower, like I probably won't want to pass it up.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not buying. Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
I sold the cash secured puts at 40, and I'm happy if they fill, and I'm happy to keep the premium. If I keep the premium, I'll just keep selling it just for weekly. So, but that's not adding my entire position back. I'll add as we go down, and I'll sell as we go up. I've just learned that. But I have a core position that I'm not selling. I'm not trading. I'm very careful with covered calls on because I want that long term.
Yeah, I think this is something that I probably will not add in my long-term portfolio if we go back to the 40s, just because I already have a large position. I probably will buy all of those leaps that I sold or right back and way cheaper in the long-term portfolio, because that's a tax haven account. But what I will do, if we stay even at this range, is I'm going to pick it back up in the Wheeling portfolio, because right now the Wheeling portfolio only has 2 names. It has Tesla and it has SoFi, and it has a shit ton of cash just waiting in cash for a dip. So if you remember in my Wheeling portfolio, I bought up the HIMS dip all the way down into the low 30s. And then I sold, I got all my shares called away at like 46 or 47. and so now we're below that range again. So I'm going to start cash secured puts all the way down, and rebuild that HIMS position if we get a similar situation as to the one we got in February.
Tevis, you should buy a HIMS, HIMZ.
Well,
It's 2x levered. Dude, it's down 70% today.
ooh,
Anyone that bought leaps on that or bought anything on HIMS ticker symbol they're donezo. They're toast.
that is wild.
Yeah, down 70%. I considered almost buying some today just because it's just down. I mean, that's stupid, but it's 2x leverage.
Yeah, well, because it's 2x leverage,
And more can happen.
Let me throw up my screen. Because it's 2x leverage, like HIMS can be, so HIMS can be down to levels never before seen since, whatever May, but this thing is going to be down more than that because the leverage just brings it down. It's crazy, man. Like it's at levels in since April. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that drop is just
that's the issue with leverage. And I there are times and plays where I do leverage, but know what you're doing, know the risk.
Yeah.
A lot of times when it's going up, you're just like, hey, there's only upside. This will never fall. And then a day like this hits, and you're crushed. You've lost more than half of your portfolio. Same with options, with leaps. Know what you're doing, know what your comfort zone is. I've never used options other than selling options on HIMS, just because I'm like, the stock itself is volatile enough, and I can just hold those common shares as long as I want, as low as it goes or as high as it goes. It doesn't matter. Versus some positions that are more stable, that are just ridiculously undervalued. And there's a price where I'll start to look at those for HIMS, but we're not anywhere close there. I'll look at some leaps, give myself pretty conservative strikes, make it as long-term as I can. So at least a year and a half to 2 years out. But you guys, especially if you're young, you don't have to hit a home run every single time. You don't have to get like a 10X every single play. And if you go chasing that in a bull market environment, Elijah, you're doing well, brother, but you got to be careful.
That wasn't easy.
Yeah, but no, like for real, it's okay to just get the easy double or triple, or go up 50% in a year. Like that's okay. It's actually phenomenal. So and don't feel like you need to compete with whoever you see on X, probably some stranger that may even be lying about their gains, and you're like, oh man, they had a 100X this year. I got to catch up. You don't need to. If you have time on your side, risk what you're comfortable risking. Look over the long term, buy quality companies, and use leverage selectively. I wouldn't build your entire position or strategy based on leverage.
My favorite part is this morning that the $70 CCs were still going for like 7 or 8 cents a contract, and I sold them. With the stock down 35%. It's like, are these gamblers serious? Like, what are they doing, man?
Option seller paradise, man.
They think it's going to go up 80% in the next 4 days after this news. Like, what are they talking about? Anyway.
It really is an option seller paradise. And like the way that this thing moves, if you're comfortable holding it at a level, like you can even just write like cash secured puts 2 weeks out, like at the money even, and you can just capitalize so much. Because you can close those early, right? Because it's so volatile that if it moves up, you can close it in a day or two for 50% profit.
Yeah. Who do we think throws the lawsuit first? Or do we think there's a chance that it's just a stalemate because neither of one of them want to have a lawsuit?
Look, let me put on my tinfoil hat for a second. I found this kind of interesting, right? Because we are seeing this pattern emerge where we have a massive amount of short interest, and this thing is going up and it's continuously bouncing off of that ceiling in the mid 60s. Like it was at 64 when it fell. And then last time in February, it like barely reached the 70s and then it fell again. And so I think that shorts stand to lose a ton of money on this if this thing breaks through, and they're doing everything that they possibly can. Like analysts came out today in droves, and they were like, we're Needham was like, this is off of our confidence list for the year. Issuing sell ratings, issuing low price targets. And so I think that there's a big, like similar to, SoFi, right? It's like they're challenging a massively established incumbent industry. And it's the same with Big Pharma. And I think they have a lot of odds stacked against them. So I wouldn't be surprised, right? There's manipulation in this name because it's a very low float, low market cap company. Anyways, Roy has to leave. But before he does, very quickly, we have a show tomorrow where we're going to be picking some stocks. Roy, why don't you tell people what's going on tomorrow?
Yeah, so if you guys have ever played fantasy football, it's like that, but with stocks, because fantasy football is not nearly geeky enough.
You guys are doing that again?
Extra geeky. So we've got a curated list of 200 and something stocks. All of them are terrible because Tevis picked them. Just kidding. There's
237, and yes, Joby is in.
It is, and I'm picking it round 10 if it's still there. I am for the memes.
Tevis' first pick.
There's at least 4 of us participating. Tevis is going to work on another guy or two, and that is tomorrow in lieu of Bootleg Weekly. So it's a bootleg annual, hopefully, stock draft.
And what time is it?
I don't remember.
It's at 4:30. It's at 4:30 Eastern.
Both of the hosts don't know what time. That's hilarious.
I'm on Central Time, so I'm like, I don't want to try to like convert and everything. So yes, and I'm heading. You guys can continue on. I'm putting a link in the description. If you guys want more HIMS content, be sure to follow these guys. I'm a special guest here, so I'll pop in every once in a while. I'm hopping over to Tech Bros Weekly with Amit and Tanner. We're going to talk about some different names. You guys are welcome to join us or stay with these guys. But thank you guys for having me on as your guest.
Sweet. Thanks, Roy. Have a good one, man.
Later.
Thank you, Roy. What a guy.
All right, so now we can talk about some DGen stuff now that he's gone.
Gentlemen.
The godfather of stocks.
Gentlemen, what a guy.
Gentlemen.
What a crazy week.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week, too. Yeah, I am absolutely.
It's Monday. What do you mean what a crazy week?
It just feels like a crazy week. Like, I was on X all day. I should have been working, but I was on X all day, like, seeing both sides of bears, like, pumping up and celebrating. Like, we told you, and bulls saying, this is the most bullish thing ever. Now we're a solo company. We don't need anyone else. I don't know.
The sentiment's horrible, but this is just an average Monday for a HIMS shareholder.
Yeah.
I woke up late and I see the messages of Tevis giving me shit in our group chat. HIMS is down like 25% already. Market's not even open. I'm like, oh my God, dude, it's going to be one of these days.
Yeah. It's not even bad, dude. Like, I thought we were going to be completely red in the market today with the geopolitics of everything. And then the market just doesn't give a shit. Like,
World War III ended, bro.
Huh?
World War III is no longer.
Well, like, apparently, man. Like,
supposedly.
It's like, dude, I was like, can we have a red day, please? I need it for my covered calls. I was like happy about it. And then it's like, they don't care. They don't care.
They're not confessing, they're bragging.
Dude, Tesla up 8% on the robotaxi news.
Off of doing worse than Waymo? It's weird.
Nate is a Tesla bear, man.
I'm not actually a Tesla bear. No, I'm not
a hater, dude. Get this dirt off.
I'm not a Tesla bear. I'm just I'm a timeline bear. Their timelines are always 5 years too late. Not too late, but 5 years late.
We finally got the thing that they promised like 10 years ago.
Yeah, with the guy sitting in the front seat
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago. And the guy sitting in the front seat and like, what is it, like 20 cars in total doing it in like a small zoned area in Austin. It's not actually FSD at all, actually. It's just a zoned area, just like Waymo.
Me and Nate have an agreement. The day he buys Tesla is the day I buy Palantir.
But I will never let you buy Palantir. It's so overvalued. I cannot let you do that. It is ungodly overvalued. It's gonna hit
that's a good friend, because there's plenty of people who would be like, buy it, bro. It's going to $5 trillion.
I mean, it's gonna go to $1 trillion, but in like 15 years, if it was like a legit stock and actually did that slowly.
Dude, I will take $1 trillion in 15 years, because in 15 years that'll be like the worst 15-year stretch for that stock ever in terms of a return, like a time-weighted return.
Yeah.
Because Elijah wouldn't be catching the 10x or the 12x or whatever the fuck it was.
No.
He'd be catching it at like 140.
Right.
Do you think Palantir now is going to kind of pan out how Tesla did in its peak? And I think it was 2020, 2021, around the $400 mark, where the valuation is super expensive, and then now it's kind of been flatlining for the past few years. And what do you think?
That's how I thought it was going to be at $100. I thought it was good for the next 3 or 4 years at $100, but it's going to bounce between like 80 to 120. for the next 3 years. But no, it just keeps freaking going, and I really don't understand why. Like, yes, it's growing great. Best Rule of 40 in any SaaS company. So it's like it deserves a premium, but not like 100 price of
Ooh.
sales or whatever it is.
Calls it is.
Which one, Nate?
Palantir.
Yeah, I mean,
It has the best Rule of 40 of any SaaS. So like it deserves a premium, but not the premium it has at all by any measure.
I guess. Doesn't HIMS have a higher Rule of 40?
Yeah, but their growth is not good. We both know their Rule of 40 is going to drop down to like 70 because their growth is not going to be 110. Whereas Palantir is just slowly upticking. Whereas HIMS is just bounces around because it's inconsistent growth. So
Yeah. I don't know. I need ideas for the stock draft tomorrow. And I think Palantir is going to be taking
you don't want to get Palantir. And 1 year return, I would not take that. HIMS now though is actually really good, like because I think this will be done in a year and this thing will be over $100.
Here's the secret that I'll let you guys in that nobody else knows. And I don't think they're going to be watching the stream, so they won't know until tomorrow, but the audience will know. So the secret, guys, is I made the list of stocks, and it's like 237 stocks. But the fun part is there's also ETFs, and I also included 2x and 3x leverage ETFs.
Oh my god!
I guarantee you, and nobody in the audience, nobody snitch. I guarantee
someone's gonna message them for sure.
I hope nobody messages them because it's gonna be hilarious. I guarantee you that somebody's gonna pick like SoFi, and then I'm gonna be like SOFX, Tesla, and I'm gonna be like TSLO because all of those are in there. And so if they notice, they notice, and if they don't notice, they don't notice. But I think it's gonna make it more fun because it's like, if do you want the underlying or do you want the 2x leverage or the 3x leverage? So we'll see how that goes.
Are you guys doing the 1 year span? So basically a year from tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Dude,
Yeah, that was a great idea. It was
Damn.
super fun to watch last time. Oh, we're still live. I forgot we're still live. Hey, audience. But
okay. What do we think? Do we want to wrap it there?
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any other HIMS news, right? I feel like we covered. I mean, did you guys have it last week? I was out. I was gone.
No, we didn't have it last week, but last week the main news was around the gummies, which we just talked about.
Yeah.
And then obviously I mean, we might have a lot more news for next week.
Yeah.
If there is in fact a lawsuit, but I'm not holding my breath that there's going to be a lawsuit. But TBD. I mean, who knows, Ben? If I knew the future with HIMS, then I'd be a much richer man. Thank you, everybody.
Much richer.
Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. We will see you next week for HIMS Weekly. It's either going to be Monday or Tuesday. I think Tuesday is when we settled on as our day. But yeah, follow the channel to make sure that you can find the accurate time. Hit the bell and buy HIMS if you want to buy HIMS, and don't buy HIMS if you don't want to buy HIMS. I put up a poll, and maybe we'll wrap with this, saying based on today's news, are you a buyer, holding, selling, or shorting? And the number one response was buying at 49%. Holding only was 27%. Selling was 15%. And shorting, fuck you guys specifically, was 9%.
Oh my god.
Just kidding. I love all the people watching. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.